Bell Time by Sophie Tuvey, Chapter 15. As I stand next to Michael at the back of the hall in our Mental Health Awareness Assembly, the irony isn't lost on me that the teaching profession is full of advice for how students can look after their well-being, and yet none of us seem to follow this ourselves. Drink more water, get enough sleep, make time for things you enjoy. Somehow I don't think that dosing up on caffeine is really the solution I need, but there's not much a hot cup of tea can't solve, even if little Miss Sunshine has bitten the dust. Next slide, please, Roger, Janet prompts him. Michael and I watch Roger, unfortunately located on the stage in full view of the whole school, bumble around with the PowerPoint. I don't think this assembly was good for Roger's mental health. Michael leans close to speak in a low tone into my ear. The electric charge is back, fizzing from my neck to my stomach. I hate the fact that I like it. It's going to be a video next, I predict correctly. Let's see how long it takes him to press play. Roger, visibly sweating, shakes the computer mouse vigorously before finding the cursor and navigating it to the play button. 7, Michael and I whisper in unison. I shuffle minutely to the right so that my shoulder touches his arm, and I stay there. Apparently, telling Michael you're sick of him does nothing to put him off being around you, because he seems to walk into my classroom every 5 minutes to check I'm not sobbing again, and he brings me another cup of tea at break time. Where does he find all these mugs? I email Jeff and Michael, suggesting that we each create lesson plans for the inspection week with the schemes of work we were already updating. That means I would only need to sort out Year 8, and Jeff would sort Year 7, Michael Year 9. Then it would just be the older groups, but I think we've got enough resources in the department to cover that. I developed my proposal for a writing festival week, and when Michael appears again at lunchtime, I click save and shut the laptop with some satisfaction. He hangs back, obviously keen to avoid being either accused of reading over my shoulder or physically assaulted. How are you feeling? He asks. Again, hesitancy, not usually Michael's style. Are you going in the staff room for lunch? I make a face and shake my head. I'll just get the 3rd degree from Steph when she sees me. She'll just know I'm upset. He shrugs as if to say, well, it is obvious. Do you fancy going for a walk around the block, just to get some fresh air? The run this morning was enough fresh air to keep me going for a month, but it's kind of thoughtful that he's willing to be with me even when I'm a nervous wreck. Sure. For the 2nd time in one day, I find myself walking the streets of Whitlock. There's more people around now that it's the middle of the day, and cars with noisy exhaust pipes screech past us as we head for the park. So, is this where you grew up? Michael asks. Sort of, I reply. I lived on the outskirts of town, near the golf club. It's quieter out there, next to all the fields. Is it weird, teaching in the school you went to? It's more of an open question than the quick-fire interrogation I'm used to from him. Well, not many of the staff are still there now. Apart from David, but let's not go there. I know Whitlock gets a lot of bad press, I continue, but it's really not a terrible school. The kids may not be affluent, but they're honest, and when you get them on side, they are willing to learn. I expect him to disagree, to launch into a tirade of negativity, but he nods and looks thoughtful. Connor spelled his name right the other day, he says, and then gives an actual smile. Michael's face is so different, with the edges of cynicism washed away, that I smile back. There you are then, I say. Progress where you least expect it. We walk a lap of the park and then alongside a graffitied wall. I remember coming here with Jamie at lunchtimes, when we pick up a bag of chips and sit outside together, even if it was freezing cold. How sad is it that my lingering memories of a meaningful relationship are a teenage romance conducted mainly at school and in Whitlock Park? I'm a grown adult, for goodness sake. Now I'm walking here with Michael and I'm feeling the same shivery excitement. Am I just deluding myself? I've got a question for you. Michael looks sideways at me, and I hope he can't read my mind. What? I ask nervously. What's your favourite book? I relax. An English teacher's safe ground. Wuthering Heights. He considers this. Do you find it romantic? No. Would you dig up a corpse? Who does that? I shake my head. You don't read Emily Bronte for romance. You read her work for the unflinching portrayal of a destructive obsession. Nice. Can I quote you on that? Okay, smarty pants. What's yours? Bleak House. He says this without a trace of irony. Dickens. I did not expect you to say that. It was the first book we studied at uni, and I had a really good tutor who unpacked all the layers in it. Interesting we both chose Victorian novels. Perhaps we're both old-fashioned. Or Bronte and Dickens were modern in their outlook. Now you've found something else to argue with me about, I laugh. As long as you're laughing, I'm happy, he says, and he holds my gaze for a moment before I look away. I'm worried I'm going to start blushing. Act like an adult, Jen. Do you want me to find someone to fill in for you at football, or do you want to go ahead with it? He asks, breaking the silence. It's a choice between being with Michael or being without him, and I know which one I'd rather. I'd like to do it, I say. The school gym looks exactly how I remember it, panelled with orange varnished wood, a squeaky floor, and a line of windows across one wall that make it freezing in winter and roasting in summer. For the second time today, I don my trainers, this time with leggings and a t-shirt. I'm hopeful I will burn calories. It rather dismays me to find that I'm the only girl. Honestly, out of a staff of 60, does no one else want to challenge the male dominance of popular sport? Of course, I overlook the fact that I'm doing this to get more attention from a guy. Hardly a win for feminism. Why exactly do I want Michael's attention anyway? Pushing the thought from my mind, I assess my team and the opposition. Michael seems to have sniffed out the most athletic staff who aren't in the PE department. Jason from music, who looks like he lifts weights in his spare time, and Will from science, who I actually thought was in the PE department for a while, and then me, a curved ball to say the least. The PE guys are wearing exactly what they wear every day of the year, including December, which is shorts and t-shirts with fleece jackets. Only they've swapped the fleeces for red bibs. There's Steve, Gareth and Matt, and then Joseph Vermont, the new maths teacher, who looks suitably weedy. The door opens, and Michael walks in with David. They're both in polo shirts and shorts, and my stomach gives a little flip when Michael catches my eye straight away and smiles. He looks more relaxed than in his usual suit, and as I register his open collar and follow his shoulder line with my eyes, all I can think is that he held me against his shoulder today, and why am I so desperate for him to do it again? I run my hand nervously over my collarbone and try to look clued up as Michael draws us in for a team huddle. But in reality, I'm measuring the distance between us in inches. Let's see if I can get just a little closer. Okay, he begins, and his tone indicates he's in classic Michael control mode. Jason, you're in goal. Everyone else needs to pick a player to mark. Spread out as much as possible. I'll take Vermont, I say, sounding a lot more confident than I feel. Best to choose the one who doesn't look like he could mow me down. Great, Michael nods. I'll take David. We all get into position to begin, and I'm starting to feel nervous now. It's been a long time since I played football. It's only 5-a-side. How hard can it be? The game begins. The PE guys are straight into action. Dribble, pass, run, pass, and they're shooting for the goal in what seems like minutes. They don't score though, and as we regain possession of the ball, Michael's shouting instructions whilst running all over the place. I'm marking Joseph in the sense that both of us are standing rather half-heartedly on one side. Into the space, Michael commands me, and I hurriedly leap to the left just as Will passes the ball to me. I can see Michael running and waving to me, so I boot it over in his direction. So far, so good. David attempts to tackle him, but he skillfully outmaneuvers him and charges towards the goal. He shoots and misses. Then I realise that I'm staring at him instead of marking Vermont, who is suddenly over the other side of the gym. Jen, over here! Jason gestures for me to run into a space. I dart over obediently, just as Steve intercepts, passes the ball to Gareth, and Joseph is running and calling his name, darn it, so I try to block him. Gareth passes it, and I fight with Joseph to get to it first, and though I manage to get the ball, I only scuff kick it, so it goes skittering rather pitifully away for a few yards, before being met by Steve, who charges towards the goal. He shoots, on target this time, but Jason saves it. Steve looks back towards Joseph in annoyance, and as David claps his back in commiseration for the missed goal, I hear him mutter about there being 2 girls playing tonight. Steve's friendly enough in the staff room, and I don't mind his banter, but it's comments like this that really annoy me. What also annoys me is that I'm not very good at football. I'd love to buck the trend and blow away all of their expectations by being stunningly talented, but the truth is, the pace of this game is way too fast for me. I feel about 3 steps behind every move. I'm also puce in the face and making a wheezing noise like I'm hyperventilating. I get the impression generally that five-a-side is a bit of fun. It's not serious football, it's for a bunch of workmates half an hour after finishing time to run about and have a laugh. But as the score is still 0-0, the laughter dies out and I can see Steve's team getting more and more stressed and Michael getting increasingly competitive too. The half-time pep talk goes like this. Right guys, we really need to push them hard now and get some goals. Move it forward, use the space and don't miss any opportunities. It sounds more like a hedge fund manager addressing stock pickers. I turn to the window to readjust my headband, looking at my reflection in the grimy glass. As I raise my arms, I catch David looking over at my reflection too. Only I don't think he's looking at my face. He clocks that I've noticed and looks away. Sigh. I'm tired now and the long day is catching up with me. My reaction time is deteriorating and it wasn't great to begin with. Perhaps that's why, when I'm standing near the goal, Michael calls my name and I turn at just the right time for the ball to smash into my nose. I let out a cry of shock at the sharp, searing pain and then cut my hands over it, feeling the warm stickiness of blood. Michael rushes over to me. I'm so sorry, I kicked it too hard. Lean forwards, someone else says. I'll get an ice pack. And I'm crying again.